That's dope. That's dope.
What's up, people? It's me. I'm here on a Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, looking forward to the weekend. But are we really? Because the weekends have been somewhat miserable for Bitcoin trading. It is what it is. Options expired, though. The stock market is turned off. Maybe Bitcoin will suck a little less. You never know. We had that encouraging bounce a couple days ago. That was super amazing. Right after the dip, but we haven't seen much follow through. And I think we need to see some follow through before we get excited. So listen, this live stream, there's not that many charts to look at. So I thought, hey, let me show up. We'll look at Bitcoin. We'll look at Ethereum, right? Quick like. And then we'll just have a little heart-to-heart time. You know, as I said in my tweet, let's do group therapy. Let's all be here for one another in this hard time. Really not that hard, honestly. It's fine. Bitcoin's like $30,000. Do you think about a year ago if I was like, man, in a year, Bitcoin will be $30,000 and you'll all be super depressed. Didn't see that coming. Did not see that coming. So it's all relative. It is all relative. If you think back, zoom out, things are pretty not bad. Pretty not bad. I wore this t-shirt. Wore a Wu-Tang shirt to get the vibes right. I don't sound bearish, dude. I'm just being sarcastic. I don't care. It's fine. It's fine, dude. We're having a good time. Through all of this, have you ever seen me have a bad time? Have you ever seen me show up and be like, guys, it's over, man. It's over. If you hear me getting like that, you should buy. If you hear me like getting super depressed and like down in the dumps about the cryptos, buy everything because I don't get there. I don't care. I'm a happy person. Every crash, I've showed up and done a live stream and we've hung out and I've been like, let's talk about rap music. Let's talk about rap music. That's what we do when the market's bad, but the market's not that bad. Let's take a look at the coin, the bit thing. Oh, look, there it is, the Bitcoins. So that's bad. 31,557. Crappy volume since that day. Man, when you look back at the volume of that drop from 42,000 to 29,000 in one day, 43,624 to 30,000 in a day. Holy shnikes. That was aggressive, dudes. That was aggressive. Listen, I would love to see this blue line hold again. That was kind of cool how it held the candle. But I mean, listen, we broke that. If you're looking at wicks, we have a perfect descending channel here. So like statistically, this should break to the upside, but that doesn't mean it can't do this first, right? Is that bad? I don't know. Not that bad. As I said, I'm bid pretty heavily like down here. And the reason being, if we zoom way super out to 2018, well, this was the all-time high, right? 19,666, sign of the devil. So I would say actually my bids are like this. I don't think it's going to happen, so don't get scared. But just like when we were up here at about 40 something, I put bids from 30 to 40 just because like maybe it'll happen, and then it all happened at once and filled. I haven't bought anything really since. Maybe it comes down to retest that. It never did. Broke it, never came back down. So maybe we get lucky and it does, one of these super bounces out of there, and then we're right back here, and all of a sudden you filled up your bids and you're super rich. The reason I'm putting them slightly above, like 21 to 25, is because usually those things get front run and not really tested. But listen, thought 42 would probably hold too, and it were not to be. It wasn't going to happen for us that time. But so listen, the daily is holding this right now. I would really watch that line. If you look in the 4 hour, we just had a low, high, lower low. but we could still be making low, high, higher low. Anything above 28,611 will be a higher low. And maybe we'll close up above that red line. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, guys, Bitcoin is just sideways chop ranging on low volume. It's so boring. Go get a hobby. Get a hobby. It's time to get a hobby. Oh, wait. I didn't pulling up the line chart. Let's see if we can follow. But look at the day. Look at the hourly. This is interesting. Okay, crap. Look at it in here. So, okay, let's look at the hourly. RSI just bounced off 19.8. Bullish divergence, of course. Hourly doesn't matter, but when price went all the way down to 29,000, RSI only made it to 24. So if you're talking about relative, this is encouraging, right? Price only moved this far. RSI moved this far and way oversold. It's the hourly. This is more of a lesson than something that's tradable. But that move on this low volume pushed RSI that low, and which should now make the trip to overbought at some points. It's really not all that bad. Also, I mean, if the daily drops any further in price below here, we'll have probably another larger bullish divergence there. 4 hour looks like booty crabs. It's whatever. Doesn't matter. Indifferent, but should make the trip. Should get to overbought. But it is, when you see how much RSI dropped on that hourly just on this little move, I think that's a little bit encouraging for me. For some people, that might not be encouraging. You might hate that. You might think that that's bad and terrible. I'm coming over to the chat. All these charts are horse manure. On the flip side, it helps grow serious green. Yeah, I mean, charts look like just butt. They look just bad. How is that bullish divergence? It's not. I misread it. That's lower. Yeah, it's hidden bullish divergence. Higher low, lower low, but that doesn't really matter unless you're doing continuation. Wasn't paying much attention. Top 5 rap albums. So I was talking about this on Twitter. I mean, I could, they rotate for me depending on my mood and time, but I would say Illmatic, Life After Death. For me, Bizarre Ride to the Far Side. People think that's crazy. Maybe The Chronic, 36 Chambers, choose a Tribe Called Quest album. I don't know, Low End Theory or Midnight Marauders, something like that. Anyways. Scott, I think you'd break the 4 hour in a marathon. Speaking of hobbies, no, I'm terrible at running. I'm bad at running. I don't run. I hate it. I do it sometimes, but I started crypto with the whole Doge thing, and since then it's so depressing. I can see that. But I'm glad you're still here and you're still paying attention, because one of my fears was that retail, new people would come in through Doge and would have a bad experience and they would leave. So I'm glad you're here. But Doge was a poor reflection on what the crypto market was, and I almost view Doge as a different sort of animal. So Ready to Die is better than Life After Death. Yes, much better. Do you think we will see 500K Bitcoin in the next 5 years? That's such dramatic speculation. I don't know. I think we will see well into 6-figure Bitcoin in the next 5 years. Whether that's 250,000 or 500, I don't know. What do you really think about market, bull or bearish? Please answer. This is a great question, and one that I've been answering quite frequently. So I hate the terms bull market. I hate the term bear market. I hate the terms bullish. I hate the term bearish, because they require a qualifier of time frame. You can be bearish this week and bullish macro. So I will say I'm always bullish on Bitcoin when you zoom out. I buy every dip. I dollar cost average. I think it's $1 million asset one day. That said, the bull market from 3,800 to 65K, or from 10,000 to 65K, or the break from 20 to 65K, that's over. That's at least locally, it's a bear market. We broke market structure, made lower lows, broke 42K, which was a key level, and have range there and tested the lows. bear market, right? So I don't know, bear market, but we could break 42K and it would be a bull market again in a day. So it could be a very short bear market, right? I mean, was the stock market in a bear market when it dropped 35% for a couple days and then raged back over the next year? Maybe. You know, the technical definition people say is a drop of over 20% for more than 3 months. But 3 months in Bitcoin is like 37 years somewhere else, right? So it's hard to, there's no consensus definition. I would say that bulls are not showing much balls right now beyond the bounce off the range lows. And we need to get above like 42K to consider this a resumption or new bull market. I missed a ton of your questions, I'm quite sure. What about the weekend? I don't know. It doesn't look great right now, but now once the spigots are turned on, there are signs they're decent. Let's look at ETH. I like ETH here. That's what I want to talk to you about. If you take nothing away from this stream, we have the slightest of sweeping of that low right here. This is the range on the 4 hour that we've been in since May 14th of the year of his Lord, our Lord, whoever that is. Y'all got your own lords, 2021, right? This is the range. And we just tapped the bottom of it and are rising. And I posted this in the newsletter this morning, right when it was like sitting on it over here. And if you look, that went slightly below. So they found a little liquidity there, bouncing off support. So this is at least the slightest bit encouraging for Ethereum and maybe altcoins. Now, ETHUSD looks like, you know, broke the range low. Maybe you could call this the range low, but it's making little tweezer bottoms here on the 4 hour and potentially forming a bullish divergence if that heads up. But last time we saw ETH dumping ahead, but the big dump the day before, we saw alts just absolutely get mauled, right? Right before it happened, alts. And then Bitcoin followed. Well, ETH, now this is going right back into resistance, let's be honest, right? But if this holds support, this is the first test of this support in this range, which is usually a good one. That should target the EQ, 0.067 here from 0.057. That would be pretty good, right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But what you like about this, okay, let's say you think this is dead. It's going to dump. If you're like a scalping trader, you still take the trade. But you never take a trade if you think price is going to go down. Wrong. What determines whether you take a trade is your risk reward, right? So it was here when I posted it. So let's say that you put your stop down here to avoid one of those mega wicks. And this is your thing, right? You have a 4.24 risk reward. And this is with an aggressively low stop loss, in my opinion. So even if it sweeps the lows, it probably won't drop here. So I'd put my stop there. So knowing what you lose, and let's imagine that it flips that and goes to the highs, even to this resistance or here, then you're talking about 9.32. But let's just say even you put it slightly below the EQ, get one of these right around here, right? Your risk reward ratio is 4.14. So if you calculate your position size to lose 1% of your account based on that, this is good enough to justify saying, I'm going to lose on this trade probably, but if I win, I'll make 4 times as much as my potential loss. If any of you have ever played poker, let's say that you have $100 in front of you. There's $1,000 in the pot, roughly. Someone pushes you all in, so it's going to call. It's going to be $100, and you know statistically you have a 1 in 3 chance of winning. You push every time because you're putting in $100 with the implied gain of way more than the 33% loss that you will take if you're wrong. So you go, I'm going to probably lose here, but I'll make more than the loss, and you push. You push. Risk reward does not determine when I take a trade. That's fine. That's fine. But you can take this trade 4 times and be right once, and you make money slightly, right? So that's why it works. That's how, liquid source. I think for me, Only built for Cuban links, but only because like I'm a Raekwon homer. Recovery is not in the top 5 for me, but you know, whatever. Poke her face. I'm not going to check Ethereum Classic because like I've never even really looked at Ethereum Classic and whatever. I bought in close to the all-time high and have been at DCA ever since. I think it's just getting started. The most expensive Bitcoin I ever bought was 57,000 after it dropped from 65, buying the dip, and I'm still holding it and totally feel fine about that. Because I'm worried about the price in 10 years, not in 10 minutes, and stop spazzing and worrying so much. Is ADA holding strong? I don't know. I haven't looked, but ADA has, in general, I had looked and was holding generally pretty strong from what I'd seen. Let's see. Yeah, ADA rocking against Bitcoin. Came right back. Still, though, struggle fest at this range EQ. And rejected here at resistance, especially if you draw it like that, which I like now better because 1, 2, 3 perfect touches. But yeah, this looks fine. And they're all putting in these little kind of reversely candles. Just don't love that this broke the low after here, that actually 1, 2 candles have broke. So you would like, this is actually, I'm not sure, I'm not doing it, obviously. But like, if you're just like a support resistance guy, you would have shorted that retest, right? Break down, retest, short for lower targets. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I love the roots. I know those guys. I did a lot of DJing with Questlove, but also when I lived in Philadelphia from 1995 to 2003 almost, there was a party called Black Lily at this place called the 5 Spot every Tuesday night, and it was an open mic, and they weren't famous yet, and the Roots were the house band. So like the Roots would play, and like Jill Scott and Music Soul Child and Kindred and like all these dudes would come and sing and do their thing. Kanye came once and did like a little producer thing. He literally was like a kid who like rolled in with his backpack and his MPC and started playing beats. He wasn't a rapper yet. It was crazy. So I love the Roots. And I think the Black Thought is probably one of the most underrated MCs of all time. Variety of music. Over here is classic rock, mostly. Like those were like my parents' records and stuff. Then it goes into old school hip hop, which goes all the way probably across there. And then sort of compilations, house trance records that I liked for a while. But this isn't all of it. Yeah, I'm telling you, I have a Raekwon thing because like I DJ'd him for him. But Jizza is probably the one of the best, maybe even better. Anyways. What coins in the top 50 do you think will survive a bear market? I mean, I haven't gone down the whole top 50, but I think most. I don't see why they'd go anywhere. They're still here from the last bear market. So I think they'll do it. ETH USD monthly a concern. I haven't looked at the monthly. Let's take a look. I mean, that's horrid. That's horrid. Right? That's a bad candle, and this is confirmation. But I'll tell you, man, you look at monthly candles and you rarely get what you think you will because it's the monthly. But yeah, I mean, technically, if you were like looking this, you could say it would come all the way down here, you know? I would bid in general right now just because this was the previous all-time high. I'd definitely bid around 1420 for long-term holdings. Weekly, and this is demand right here on the weekly that we're in off this candle. Monthly looks bad, but it's so hard to trade monthly charts, especially on crypto where a month that would be like a yearly chart on a stock, you know? Doesn't worry me that much, even though it is bootylicious, as Beyonce would say. Destiny's Child, technically, but she was one of the bootylicious. That was log scale, I believe. Yeah, that was log scale. That's log scale. Hideous. Really, really ugly. I thank you for your comment. Just trying to see, what about the future of crypto poker legislation, and shouldn't crypto be taxed globally? I mean, taxes globally is not a thing, so I can't imagine countries that can't even agree on the simplest of things coming together to tax crypto and decide who gets that revenue. Crypto poker, I don't know. I think poker will become legal. I think crypto's already legal. Weird Al is not the best rapper ever, even though that's a joke. Future Unchanged is here. He would like to know, up or down, give it me straight. The only way I know how to give it is straight. I think, sideways. Is that an answer? Is that an answer? Sorry, trying to go through your comments here, answer your questions. The options expiry already happened, Kyle. Around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Deribit, then 4 p.m. London, which is like 10 or 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for CME and such. They are all expired, as are your hopes and dreams. Have fun staying poor. No, that's a kid. You should never say that. I'm going to give it to him straight. I think last week was preview of this week, meaning I assume that you think we're going to drop again. Totally possible. If 4-hour rallies closes above its open, the last swing low close is only off by about $6 on Coinbase. How close do you have to be invalidated, exaggerated, hidden bull div? Okay, let me... A lot to parse there, Michael. I mean, if this closes above here and this stays below, we would have a hidden bullish divergence. That would require price being above and RSI being below. Maybe that's what you're talking about. Cool. I mean, it would be cool to see, like I said, to see this like rally and close, which is only $200 away above that red line. That would be a nice little sweep of this low. So I could see that being a thing. Let me see if I even have this line right. I think that gray candle's a bit lower. It is. So, I mean, this is ugly, but low volume, kind of insignificant. Just ranging, dudes. Just ranging. You definitely don't, we want to flip 30. This is what we need. We got to get above 36 and be above the EQ of this range. This is a really, this whole area is a tough nut to crack, as you saw. It looks like this, if you drew this off here, if you drew this candle off here, do it. Or just do it. Let's just do it. I mean, we're here, right? Something like this, well, you have the same sort of thing, right? And it's going to be a tough nut to crack with the EQ of the channel, all this price action. The problem is, right now, it feels like we're in a situation where you have people looking to short and people looking to exit as fast as possible on any bounce. So, it's not ideal. Price is doing the Seminole chop. Scott loves the... no. It does look like textbook Wyckoff. Looks like textbook Wyckoff accumulation schematic number 1. The infamous Mobb Deep is a top 7 rap album of all time. Maybe top 5, depending on my day. The thing is, that maybe has some of the best songs, but I don't find that album top to bottom as listenable and as exciting as some of those others. Those other ones, it's one of those things where just every song, every song. Ready to Die, every song, every single song. Oh, Reasonable Doubt's top 5 too. I didn't even mention that, which today is the 25th anniversary, I believe, of Reasonable Doubt. You're going down, down, baby, your street in a Range Rover, people, baby, got ready to let it go. Shimmy, shimmy, go, what? Listen to it now. Atlians is definitely top 6 or 7. ATLians, excuse me. Mad Villainy up there. Nearly 1 billion in shorts in the last 12 hours on Bitfinex, most ever. We can look at that. By the way, I think it's very misleading to look at Bitfinex shorts because Bitfinex is such a small part of the leverage market. You should be looking at Binance shorts and Bit. We just did this and then they unwound, right? So actually, if you think this person's compiling is piling up shorts, maybe we see them close and it comes down. So the fact that this is being heavily shorted right here means there's shorts to squeeze in my mind. So I would say that's not a bearish thing. Everyone come to my Nelly cover band show. Disagree with Cointelegraph. Options futures depressed the support price leading up to expiry. It isn't supposed to be a single day event. They even link their past posts. Acknowledge that. Yeah, so that was in the Cointelegraph thing. And actually, I was surprised by that too. And I covered it in the news. I was in Business Insider just this morning saying we've seen price suppression. So it's a bit of a contradiction. But yes, generally into options expiry, it definitely feels like we've seen suppression. Well, that's the thing. The 28 bottom looks like the 65 top. And so you could whatever, 1 second. This looks like Wyckoff accumulation, right? So the argument is that this all looked like distribution. The question is, I mean, some people show like $7,000 targets for the distribution, but maybe that distribution happened and now we're accumulating for a move up. That's the argument. So I think you had distribution, now you have accumulation. This is not distribution after the drop. I mean, this is perfect, the spring here, and we just need more follow through. But this is normal. Like this would be a perfect phase C. Let me find it. 1 second. 1 second. I don't like that one. This is the one I like. Number 1. 2 is lamb face. Bro, where's it at? See, a lot of people were posting 2, but this doesn't have the spring. It doesn't look like that to me. Wish I could put both of these up. But I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. So we would be here, right? The spring and then the test. So this is now the problem is that this maybe is a lower low. But the idea being that you had the spring. So maybe this is the first test actually. So that's totally fine if you look at it like that. But that puts us squarely in phase C right here, right? So maybe this low is here. We get another higher low and then we break out. But none of this matters until you get this sign of strength up top. But I mean, it's hard not to see these 2 lows and then the spring, right? 1, 2, spring, test, move up. It's hard not to see it. I mean, and what is Wyckoff? If you guys maybe you don't know about it. So Wyckoff was a trader in the 1800s, 1880s. And so he was fortunate enough to be surrounded by guys like JP Morgan and the most famous trader, Jeff Livermore, I think, basically the biggest Carnegie, the biggest traders of our time. And he noticed that all of these guys basically were driving the market. Whatever they did was manipulating or driving the market. They were composite operators, as he called them. So he basically extrapolated his plan based on supply and demand and using volume and price being in agreement or disagreement to determine what was likely to happen in the market. And so this is the behavior of those guys before price goes up in his mind. Isn't that last test lower than the Wyckoff chart? Well, we had the spring, and that's what I'm saying. If this is just the first test, like we had noise, there's always noise in here. It doesn't exactly like this, but this is that sweep of the low, the spring. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but that's pretty consistent. Thanks for the hopium, Scott. Anything I can do, Peter Pie? Pie Peter. Wow, first and last time listening to your stream. Man, you are bad. In the words of Run DMC, not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. Huh. But the good news is you can leave. You have that power. Or I can just put you in timeout. You're in timeout. You're in timeout. I'm going to let you back in 5 minutes to think about what you did. Bought some altcoins at all-time high. Should I sell them? I don't know. This is not a financial advising type place. I wouldn't necessarily sell them. Yes, he was a bit of a box of tools. Unless you mean me, in which case, I don't know, man. Whatever. Oh, you meant him because you said just leave then. No, it's cool, man. You gotta. So bad. Life is not determined by the words of anonymous haters on the internet. Remember that. Wyckoff distribution was an exact match if you look at the chart. Yes, we had distribution at the top, and this is pretty much an exact match of accumulation. So distribute, dropped 55%, pretty aggressive, and now we can go up. I don't really have a top 5 alts. Bitcoin and Ethereum? I don't know. Scott's the best. Get the fuck out. I'm saying. I'm holding ARK token. Wow, ARK 2017. Still minus 90%. That's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. Seeing what else you guys got to say up in here. Isn't it super unlike that Wyckoff happens if everybody knows about it now? I mean, it's happened thousands of times on coins, but yeah, I mean, I think everybody's always known about it. It's just it's just an idea of how the market is being driven by the biggest players and their behavior. You know, the charts are just a visualization of human emotion and behavior. So you're just basically looking to see when they're likely to be done accumulating and heading up. And this schematic kind of shows that. Hello, Scott. What do you think about lengthening cycle? It just doesn't generally take that long to lengthen. Lengthening cycle. I don't really know what that means. You mean that we'll have longer cycles now than we did in the past? I'm not really sure. Not really sure. I mean, the thinking after the futures have expired, which is what's happened, is that if they were holding it down to make sure that their shorts got paid, that price could go back up. But that's not happening at the moment. Could happen, but that's the thinking. Yo, this triggers me, and he's doing it on purpose. Patient Tory, P-Toy. I held it for like easily a year, down probably 90, 95%. And then I was finally like, fuck this. I am out. And within, I believe, honestly, 5 minutes of me selling after a year, it went up like 300% in 2 days. Man, triggered. Coin seems to be stabilizing your prediction. I think that coin is largely going to do what Bitcoin does to some degree, or at least what the market does. Coin is Coinbase stock, for those of you guys who don't know. I'm well underwater in my position. My cost base is around 255, 260 now after averaging down. Listen, it's not going to follow Bitcoin price per se, but the problem is that they're based on volume, and a lot of the metric was the insane increase in people coming into the space and signing up for Coinbase. And if people aren't interested in Bitcoin, they're not going to sign up. Therefore, we might see a slowdown. But long term, I think Coinbase will be one of the biggest companies anywhere. It might mean the super cycle. I mean, the super cycle talk, and I've talked about this. And listen, I participated, not in super cycle. I don't think I ever really talked about that, but I participated in the bullish hopium heavily. The idea was that Bitcoin could never retrace again because institutional investment, and it's different this time, myself included. And I think we just saw a 55% drop in price sustaining here. So I think those narratives were totally like bull market hopium thinking, and we will see massive retraces. But I also believe that we will still go to extremely much higher prices. I think we'd see 60K before 20. I just don't see it going that deep. But actually, I mean, okay, you know what? If I was a betting man, I would say 20 just because it's a closer. So odds are it would hit that, much easier. What about El Salvador? Any negative opinion on anything in Paraguay? So this is interesting. You guys might know who Lynn Alden is. She's brilliant. I talked to her this morning for the podcast. They'll be out probably next week or the week after. And we got into El Salvador, of course, and we were talking about it. And I asked her this question. I said, we're all very excited about El Salvador. Bitcoin is legal tender. They're effectively airdropping $30 in Bitcoin to every single person in the country. They're going to mine volcanoes. Super sweet, right? But I said to her, let's play devil's advocate because it's not a conversation I've heard yet at all. Like, what if it just goes wrong? Like, what if, the IMF or the World Bank or someone steps in and they put so much pressure on El Salvador with other threats or sanctions that El Salvador is like not worth it and just doesn't do it, or they make it prohibitively difficult. Or what if people there just Don't give a shit and don't use Bitcoin. So it's amazing that it's legal tender, but it still needs to be adopted. So like if price goes from 30 to 20 right now, might not have that many excited people in El Salvador. So I would say that we're in this really cool, interesting inflection point where they adopted it. They're making the moves. Paraguay will do the same. We'll see other countries do the same, I believe. Colombia announced a multiple billion-dollar blockchain fund today. But you have to be aware that you can't hang your hopes on just like what El Salvador did, because it could go wrong. Like it could not work. And then that would be very bad for the space if all of a sudden it just didn't work and people weren't interested, right? So I think that you got to look at it both ways. Bro, I don't even know what that means. I live in Eastern Standard Time. You're probably right, and you have nice pants, but I don't know what that means. The Columbia blockchain fund was just $750,000. Let me look. I think it was billions today. They just announced it today, and now you're making me look it up. 750,000. That one I see. Oh, it's Columbia Columbia Capital. Companies can apply to Bogota Innovation, Technology, and Creative Industry Fund. Here, I'll put it up here. But that wasn't it. That's not the story. God damn it. Wrong one. Why is that linking to that? Oh, I can't help you, but right here, 2.8 billion blockchain investment plan. That's what I was talking about. Cool. Glad we had this talk. They corrected it. Well, thanks for making me look dumb. You read things. You read things on the internet and you believe them. In your opinion, what's causing this huge dip? A few things. Leverage. Too easy to move price dramatically for big players because they know that idiots with 100x leverage will get liquidated. So that stinks, right? And I asked Lynn Alden this question too, and she said Grayscale. She said GBTC was the single biggest buyer of Bitcoin, and then the premium disappeared. It went negative. Nobody was buying it. Therefore, GBTC was not buying any more Bitcoin, and that opened the door for a major bigly dump. That was her answer. And I think that's kind of cool. This is so lame because billions and 750K are not literally even in the same universe. This dip is caused by a surplus in nachos. Is a surplus in nachos ever a problem? I mean, people betting the farm on what El Salvador and Paraguay do, perhaps, but like, I don't think that's the case. There might be a few, but like price hasn't gone up. So, and yeah, that's pretty lame that I got played like that. I mean, pretty big headline, billions of dollars. And that's still the headline on Google. How did you trick such a beautiful woman into marrying you? If I told you that, then I might lose her. I don't know, man. I don't know. My infectious optimism and happiness. So I certainly wasn't rich. I was super poor. Super poor we met. But I was a pretty good DJ, which helped, probably. I gave her a mixtape. Not kidding. It's called Knockin' Boots. It's online. We were both shared a love of 90s R&B slow jams, and everything grew from there. Max leverage you would recommend? That's an interesting question. Let's talk about that. This is a good question. What if I told you that the amount of leverage you use is actually somewhat irrelevant? What does that mean, Scott? Leverage can be an amazing tool if you use it correctly, right? It eliminates counterparty risk, which is huge. Like if you want to trade $1 million position on spot, you have to have $1 million in Bitcoin. If you want to trade $1 million position on leverage and do it with 10x, you only have to expose $100,000 to the risk of the exchange going down or melting down or something like that. That's great. But if you take a position where your stop loss is 0.5% below your entry, you can use 100x leverage or 5x leverage or 1x leverage, and it literally makes no difference because you won't get liquidated. Your stop loss is above liquidation. So leverage, in my opinion, you decide on how much leverage you're going to use, not before you take a position, but after you determine where your stop loss is. If your stop loss is 9% away, or 4% away or 2% away, you determine your leverage and how much you want to use based on that. So like using 50x leverage sounds like a big Chad move, but if your stop loss is 1.5% below the entry that you take, you can use 50x leverage. Doesn't matter. But as a beginner, I don't think you should be scalping positions with 1% stop losses because you're going to just stop out almost all the time. I would say 5x leverage, maybe 5x leverage. H-Town, knocking boots. Somebody rocking, knocking the boots. Yeah. It was a mixed CD, I should say, but it was actually it was a mix. Totally mixed. It's online. You can find it. Scott Melker is knocking boots. Dip is caused by hands on hips. That's a fact because when you put your hand upon your hip, then you dip, we dip. I dip, you dip, we dip. This is JP Morgan's argument, the GBTC sales to resume, but there's always lockup expiring for GBTC. Her argument was that the damage is done. It was more about they were providing the floor and they were providing the demand, and when they stopped buying and the supply continued to be the same and the demand was reduced, price go down. All right, got to go. Study time. Thanks for your great info. You are great. The channel is great, especially your live stream interaction. Thank you, Sumit. You're probably already gone. Probably talking to a ghost. Answer is no leverage. Percentage of successful beginner day traders is 0 long-term. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. You shouldn't use it. I'm just saying it's kind of irrelevant depending on your risk management strategy. Also, like most people who got really rich with time didn't use leverage. They just were patient and bought stuff, right? Like I always joke, like the richest people in the world who just like started companies and invested and whatever, they never looked at a chart, thought about using leverage to compound their gains. They just put money in the market and waited. Put it in the market. Yes, I'm very familiar. If you guys have not seen my podcast with Plan B, I just did it a couple weeks ago. It was super sweet. Maybe my most popular podcast of all time, actually. I'm familiar with it. He says that it's not invalidated. I believe him. It's his model, but it's getting to a level where I would say it's probably close. Yeah, I mean, legit, consistent analogous, and legit hip hop rap talk. That's what we do. Is Bitcoin trading speculative gambling controlled by big whales? No. Bitcoin trading with high leverage is speculative gambling, but Bitcoin trading is the freest market that we have. And this is the funny thing, right? And I talk about this all the time. So people joke that, or they criticize Bitcoin for being manipulated. I say it's a free market. Manipulation is the Fed printing money and buying stocks and bonds to make sure the market goes down. That's manipulation. If a whale controls the Bitcoin market and decides to sell or buy heavily, that's their prerogative. That's the definition of a free market. It's not their fault they have more money than you, and you have the opportunity to be on the same side as them. So people cry manipulation and they scream about whales, but only when they lose. Nobody's mad when whales are buying. You're only mad when whales sell and you're on the other side. But for every $10 million sell order by a whale, there are $10 million worth of bids on the books to buy it. That is not manipulation. That is a free market, and people get super sad when they're on the wrong side of a free market. I have not heard of this. I'm sorry. 2.8 billion Colombian pesos. Okay, so still accurate. Too legit to quit. I don't think that the move today changes the schematic at all. Like I said, I think that you have this, and then this is a test, and you hopefully get another higher test and then head up. And this could close above there, by the way. If you looked at that on a line chart and it closes above here, then you have a perfect 2 tests. So it's all about everybody's got their own thing, right? Great insight. Frank Ocean Blonde is the best album of all time. That's bold. It's very good. Very bold. Of all markets out there, Bitcoin is the one that's most sensitive to fear and greed. Maybe. I would say altcoin markets are more sensitive to fear and greed than the Bitcoin market because they move disproportionately more than Bitcoin. So I don't know if that's true. You could say crypto markets, but it's a nascent market and it's a free market. Therefore, it's more susceptible to fear and greed. So I can get on that. How can crypto be manipulated when it's traded way more by normies than markets? Normal people don't buy stocks. They buy 100 dojis for memes and they learn about other cryptos. I think that's true, but I think that meme stocks are changing this a bit. And another Lynn Alden thing that I wasn't so aware of. We were talking about stock bubbles or the concept that when you don't, when you don't solve problems and they compound and compound, the disaster is worse. And she was saying in Weimar, Germany, that there was this huge speculation bubble of people buying assets and stocks because they saw inflation happening, even at the beginning when it was a bit slower. And so they said, shit, my money's worth nothing. I can't buy much. So I'm going to start speculating and trading and attacking the market. And that was a huge part of the eventual crash. Kind of what we're seeing now, right? Like whether people are aware of it or not, last year during COVID, they were getting stimulus and there's more money printing and people are like, well, like I'm not saving any money by putting my cash in the bank. And they start speculating on meme stocks and Wall Street bets and all that stuff. It's very similar. It's actually very similar, not something that I had really experienced. I prefer log charts because think of it this way. If price goes from $1,000 to $2,000, that's a $1,000 move, but it's doubling, right? Price goes from $30,000 to $31,000, that's reflected the same on a linear chart because the $1,000 move, but a log chart reflects the percentage difference, which is much, much smaller, much smaller. It's a way more sensitive because, but it's a very sensitive market also because it's not one market. Every exchange is its own market, right? So there's a lot can happen. What do you think about Michael Burry's big short position on Bitcoin and Tesla? Oh, let's look at Tesla because Tesla was a trade that I posted in the newsletter the other day. It hit resistance, but it was here. So it went from 643 to 696, pretty good. It's at resistance. I don't know. I think that he's trying to talk about, I've talked about this before. I hate to do it again, but it's fun. He's talking about this head and shoulders, right? From the base of this head and shoulders. First of all, that's the weirdest head. Like I said, it's a Bart Simpson head. But so the depth from the shoulder neckline, 28,856 to 64. That's over a $30,000 to $35,000-ish move. So your target would be $35,000 below the breakout. So negative $7,000. It's not a valid head and shoulders. Way too big. No way you get that target. Yeah. So that, whatever. I think EIP 1559 on ETH is very fundamentally and long-term bullish, but I don't think that will be immediately reflected in the price. Right. Thoughts on Musk and Jack on their upcoming meeting. I don't know if it'll happen. Seems like they were just making bisexual jokes on Twitter. But I think that Elon Musk is a Bitcoin fan. So I don't really see, it's not like it's a debate. Tesla holds Bitcoin. I don't know. Bitcoin one day be like LL, don't call it a comeback. Don't knock yourself out over trading. Yeah, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. He's going to knock you out. Mama said knock you out. If you guys don't get the reference. The funny thing is, though, like he said, don't call it a comeback. And it was totally a comeback. Like LL had disappeared. Just saying. Yeah, cream. Listen, Michael Burry, I'm going back to this. Like he is a genius. He called the last big short, but one good call doesn't mean you get all of them right. So he's just a guy. He's just a guy. Ladies love Cool James. That's what LL Cool J stands for those of you who don't know that. NASDAQ broke support. Is it going to have an effect on the crypto market? I don't know if that's true. Is that true? Like I saw the S&P made a new all-time high today. So I don't know, maybe. Looking through some more comments here. Sorry, trying to find some things. Sneaky freaky brother sneaking in from the rear. There you go. I didn't read this first. Federal Reserve gives U.S. banks a thumbs up as all 23 lenders easily passed 2021 stress test. Fed allowing dividend increases and buybacks for banks again in July. Probably bullish. Yeah, if you mean like more lending, sure. I could do this later, sure. I can look at the TRX chart. It's not that inspired. Like, there's no reason to look at charts. I hate to tell you guys, charts are all broken. Fun to look at them, but they're super broke. I don't know. Seems to be hitting resistance after a nice bounce. Bitcoin pair, I'm still holding some TRX, by the way, that I bought right around here, 200. So we're at 193. Not too bad. Still seems like it's retesting this as support. The problem is we need to see a movement up, but this actually kind of looks fine. Macro breakout, still holding it as a retest, and this week's candle is looking quite bootylicious, juicylicious. Bootylicious is bad, I guess. Bootylicious is good though. Can you tell us about Matic? Illmatic, I would say, is arguably the greatest rap album of all time. Oh, you mean Matic, not Illmatic, not Nas. I think Matic. The chart doesn't matter, but looks fine. It's fine. I mean, this looks like bullish accumulation after a huge move up. If you zoom out, right? I mean, whatever. It's a big ass bull pennant. It's fine. But I think that Matic is actual use case and is being used and fundamentally is strong. It's one of my biggest positions. I do not own any AMP tokens. Thoughts we're in a slow bleed down and also in the denial stage. We could be in denial, but we could also be in depression. I don't know. Thoughts on magic? It's real. It's real. I've seen David Copperfield. There's no way that he does those things unless it's magic. Right? Do you believe we need a world recession, housing about to pop, as well as market? I mean, need is a very interesting qualifier. I don't think we need it. I think we needed it in the past, and it's probably too late. I don't think you ever want a recession, but listen, 2008 was probably the chance, right? In 2008, the market completely took a shit, and the United States governments around the world bailed out big banks, and the executives at the top of those banks who caused all the shit to go down, got severance packages of $100 million, flew away in their little golden parachute. And the person who took a loan or a mortgage with that bank lost their house and ended up homeless. Right. So and I asked her this question too. You guys are asking me all the questions I asked Lynn Alden, literally. And I'm talking to Jeff Booth on Monday, and he probably has the best insight into this. But we would have had a depression if they didn't do that, although they could have done it in a different way. The question is 12, 13 years later, if we had had a depression and the banks had failed and people's assets had gone down in price and we had had this crazy deflationary environment, would we be better off now or worse off? It's like Nassim Taleb, who now hates Bitcoin, says, he always uses the example of controlling, forest fires in a forest. You allow small fires to happen because they clear out the brush and all the things that make the bigger fire. And when you don't do the small fires, you end up with one huge fire that destroys everything. And that's sort of a great analogy for the market. Because they've propped it up and are forced to do all this quantitative easing and bailouts, eventually the crash is 10 times bigger than it would have been if you had just let it happen. So there's going to be a depression. There's going to be a depression. Has to. The problem is you can't figure out when that's going to be. Crypto markets crashed before S&P 500. Do you think a crash is about to happen in stocks? I don't know. Calling the top of the stock market when it's hitting the all-time high is a really hard thing to say. It should drop. Doesn't mean that it ever will. This is a great point. Traditional markets crash and needed a bailout. Crypto markets crashed and it's still fine. It's a free market, like I said. Thoughts on why always a single tweet from Elon Musk have effect on Bitcoin? I don't think it does. I think it's just an excuse. Not my thing. Scrolling up. I am looking forward to the U.S. government releasing UFO documents. And I said this, they talked about it in 2020 that they were going to do it. And I was like, 2020 is so messed up and there's so much happening every day that literally when they say aliens are real, nobody gives a shit. Like, how did that go under? In 2008, you were 6 years old. Cool, bro. I was 32. Dude, where's my car? That's what I ask Tesla every day. Elon is a scapegoat, not a catalyst. And people go from hero to zero so fast in this space. It's unbelievable. I mean, we should care about aliens, right? Like when they're like, hey guys, aliens are real. They're among us. Flying saucers. And you're like, yeah, but like, tell me about inflation. Bananas. Bananas. Will the market dump more? What's your opinion? I don't know here. And I'll be one of the first people to tell you, I don't know, and I don't see how anyone would know. It looks fine right now after the last dump, but we need to see 36K and 42K flipped. Yeah, they could totally snuck into the closure with almost no effect. You literally, I swear to God, in 2020, you could have like had an alien walk by your house and you'd be like, wow, how did that guy get out of isolation? He's not wearing a mask. He's not wearing a mask. He has, he's 7 feet 9 inches, is naked and has no genitals, but he's not wearing a mask. Yeah, interview said, we see them basically every day. Navy pilots, totally fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, of course, they know, all the presidents know about aliens. It's their thing. I was 22 in 2008 being shot at in Afghanistan. Thank you for your service. That's crazy. That is crazy. There is without a doubt a UFO base underwater off Catalina. I would say that there's doubt about that. I respect and appreciate your confidence, but I would say that that's not without a doubt. Do you think they're making up? No, that's a little too tin hatty for me, bud. There's news about inflation, so stocks dump. I never understand. Yeah, the market always gets the inflation numbers wrong first. That's true. Aliens are the hidden crypto whales. Probably true. Probably aliens are Satoshi, right? I love Eagle. I love Eagle. Yeah, like maybe like a little smidgen of doubt. Like maybe the Catalina wine mixer is not aliens. Zuckerberg could be an alien. Yeah, I looked at Ethereum earlier. I like it. It's great. Holy shit. It's 3 o'clock. I hope you guys got tremendous value from this amazing live stream where I made it up as I went. But I always have fun hanging out with you guys. You have great questions, positive interactions, especially the guy who said I was bad because I'm bad like Michael Jackson. I'm bad, come on, you know. That's how bad I am, y'all. That's my kind of bad. That's my kind of bad. Skip my question twice, bro. Okay, type it again. I'll sit here and wait. AskYourQuestion.com, CSO. I'm going to stay here for you. You only got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 3029.com. Good singing? Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at singing. Because of it, you know, come on, you know, and all I have to answer right now, just tell you once again, who's bad? Thoughts on fixed rate, non-liquidable loan platform like Ruler? I literally am glad that we stayed for this question. I have no idea what that is. I'm sorry. Literally no idea. Hopium is kind of my thing, guys. It's going to be fine. 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 She never says that. She never says that. That's what he says. That's what he said. And on that note, goodbye.